everybody, it's Katie back with another episode of my vlog. And today, even though it's not the weekend, I want to do kind of a Cinema Club special edition because we finally watched the final episode of Heidi, Girl of the Alps. So I'm ready to give you guys the lowdown on this show. And oh my God, you guys, it's amazing. We absolutely adored watching this show. It wasn't the full Cinema Club. It was Sean and Jimmy and me watching. Again, the full title is Heidi, Girl of the Alps. It is an anime series from 1974. There are 52 episodes. They're each 25 minutes long because it's designed to be a half hour with some commercials. And it was made by a team of animators, of course, but some principal characters in the production of this show are Isao Takahara and Hayao Miyazaki, who went on about 10 years later to found, of course, Studio Ghibli. So this is really cool anime that is like pre-Ghibli Ghibli. And, you know, there's kind of a wide range of stuff that Studio Ghibli covers. But Heidi fits squarely into the Totoro corner of the Ghibli offerings. So right off the bat, I'm going to say if you are a fan of Studio Ghibli, if you are a fan of My Neighbor Totoro, you will probably love Heidi, Girl of the Alps. It is, of course, based on the 1881 novel by Johanna Spyri, and the story is about a little girl named Heidi. She's, I think, 5. She might be 4 at the opening of the story. She is a recent orphan, and she's been cared for by her Aunt Dete. And Dete has gotten a job in Frankfurt, and so she needs to unload Heidi somewhere and decides to take Heidi to go live with her grandfather, her father's father. And he's kind of a hermit who lives in like a cabin on the side of a mountain, kind of like halfway up the mountain, which is called Alm Mountain. It's one of the Swiss Alps. And he lives a solitary life there. The people who live in the village that's down at the base of the mountain don't trust him. They're a little wary of him. There's a rumor floating around that maybe he killed a guy when he was younger. We'll get back to that later. But everybody is pretty negative about, again, Alm Uncle is what they call this character, or Heidi calls him grandfather. He actually doesn't have a name in the cartoon, which is pretty funny as you go through the series and you realize that even the other adults are calling him Alm Uncle or grandfather, and nobody ever calls him by any sort of a name. So anyhow, Heidi gets kind of just dropped off with her not really grumpy, but maybe kind of gruff old man grandfather, who now has to care for her. And of course, at first, they don't quite understand each other and they have to do some getting to know each other. But Heidi is this totally charming little girl. She's full of energy. She's full of curiosity. She's never been to school. She's just, all she knows is what she learns in a household situation. And so she just dropped off with her grandfather, again, halfway up a mountain. He raises goats for their milk, which he makes into cheese, amongst other kind of odd jobs that he does. He seems to also be a carpenter, and he does odd jobs down in the village when he can get the work, if the villagers will let him. But the first part of the series just kind of focuses on their day-to-day life, them getting to know each other, Heidi getting to know Peter, who is a boy who lives down in the village, who is the goat herd, who brings all the different goats from the village up the mountain each day so that they can go, eat the nice grass up in the pasture. So he comes up the mountain, picks up Heidi and grandfather's goats, and they go up together to sort of frolic at the top of the mountain. And you just get this really sweet, charming view of, life in the Alps in the late 19th century, with this little girl as the focus, who again is very curious, very kind. She loves all animals. She loves nature. And it's really fun to explore the world of the Alps through Heidi's innocent eyes and learn things alongside of her. She learns how to milk goats. She learns how to whistle for goats. She's, learns about the change of the seasons and all of these different things without going to school. So it's pretty cool for us because, as you guys know, we unschool our kids. And so Heidi is kind of this sort of perfect example of an unschooled kid. She's living this kind of isolated existence, but she's learning a ton of stuff. She's learning a bunch of life skills. but she doesn't have any like school skills. And so about halfway through the series, we come into the major conflict of the story, which is that Aunt Dete has found a house in Frankfurt where there's a rich family with a disabled daughter who is housebound and basically needs a companion because she's bored as hell. And so Dete comes along and basically tricks Heidi into going to Frankfurt with her. The few episodes that detailed the trip to Frankfurt were really heartbreaking. Watching Heidi get kind of pulled away from her life that she loves up in the Alps with her grandfather and Peter's family and some other associated characters, and gets, just ripped to city life in Frankfurt, where she's basically housebound as well, with this little girl, Clara. And there is a like grumpy schoolmarm type of character who's the she kind of manages the house for Clara's father. Her mother's dead. And this lady's name is Fräulein Rottenmeier, and she's awful. She hates Heidi. She can't relate to Heidi at all. She's in charge of Clara and her life and her schooling, and she's very, very strict. And it's basically the opposite of the existence that Heidi has had as a free, unschooled, just free spirit up on the mountain. And you have quite a few episodes of sort of this crushing, what is living in Frankfurt going to do to Heidi's spirit? But then it sort of takes another turn, and Heidi's able to go back to her grandfather's house on Alm Mountain, and then Clara comes to visit Heidi there. So then instead of it being Clara and Heidi's friendship in Frankfurt, where Heidi's very uncomfortable and just wants to go home, it becomes Clara and Heidi's friendship up on Alm Mountain and the adventures that they manage to get into. Now, Clara is disabled. She has weak legs and can't walk. They never really get into it beyond that. But she is wheelchair bound and can't get around by herself. And so it's considered very dangerous for her to go live on the side of a mountain. But they come up with all sorts of clever ways to, get Clara around and get her out for some fresh air and stuff like that. And with a goal, ultimately, of helping Clara learn how to walk on her own, of course. So there's a lot there, but there's also kind of not a lot there. Some of the episodes are very sparse, and there's just not that much plot driving them forward, but every episode is really good. It's really well animated. It's really well written. It's a trip. So we watch it in Japanese with English subtitles. There is a YouTube account called Radical Moose. It's kind of funny. But they've uploaded all 52 episodes with English subtitles. I'll go ahead and put a link to the first episode down below so you guys can check it out. And please do check it out. This show is a real gem. But so you're listening to Japanese language, you're reading English subtitles, but then because the whole thing takes place in Switzerland and Germany, all of the written signs and like if they show a text page in a book or something like that, the text is in German. They have the naming conventions of a German society. So Clara's father is Herr Sessemann, and the schoolmarm character is Fräulein Rottenmeier. But when you listen to what they're saying, they don't say Herr Sessemann in the actual audio. Of course, they say Sessemann-san, which is pretty amusing. The Japanese voice actors do also have a little bit of trouble pronouncing the name Clara, which is not easy if you're Japanese. So they say it their way. And then one of the other things, of course, we picked up on is there's all these different scenes where Heidi has to say goodbye to someone. And so they're, waving and yelling. And when you read the subtitles, it says, goodbye, Heidi, goodbye, Heidi. But of course, if you listen to what they're saying sayonara, Heidi, which became kind of an inside joke amongst the three of us about that should be the subtitle, the name of the show is just Sayonara, Heidi. It also has a great opening theme song and closing theme song for each episode. And they do the really great thing of giving you not only the English translation of the Japanese lyrics that you're hearing in the song, but they also give you the transliteration of the Japanese kind of karaoke style where it's lighting up as they're singing it so you can sing along with the song. And I'm here to tell you both the opening and closing songs are great. they'll get completely stuck in your head. We had a blast. We made it a family requirement that every time we watched it, everybody had to sing along. And the songs do have yodeling in them also. So we're yodeling along with the songs, which is pretty great. I will note that the closing credits sequence really looks like the closing credits of My Neighbor Totoro also. If you watch the show, you will definitely recognize that exact style that, again, gets repeated later in My Neighbor Totoro. Like I said, the show is just completely charming, completely sweet. I think target audience is going to be kids, old enough to read, obviously, because of the subtitle issue, up to probably about age 10. 10 is how old Jimmy is, and he's completely into it. But Henry, who is 2 years older, we invited him to watch a couple episodes, and he was just like, I'll pass, whatever. It's also, ostensibly for girls, but whatever that means. Jimmy loved it. Sean loves it. It's a show for everybody. It's really, really fun. Like I said, really charming, and just a great watch if you are into, like I said, pre-Ghibli, Studio Ghibli work, kid lit from the late 19th century. If you like goats, man, there's a lot of goats in this show. There are so many goats, and there's so many goat bells. Sean actually got me my very own authentic Swiss goat bell, which I love. And I keep it on my dresser in the bedroom, and I use it to express joy at things. When something really fun happens, I always run and grab the bell and ring it. We did also, inspired by how much he loved the show, we got James a copy of the book, which he has read and he's thoroughly enjoyed. We're also planning on watching the 1937 American version of it, of course, starring Shirley Temple. We have that one on our list for a future musical Monday coming up. But we got really kind of entrenched in the Heidi world, and it was really fun. Again, as unschoolers, what we do is when there's something that interests the kids, we just follow the thread. So Jimmy got super interested in goats because of watching Heidi. And I will say, when we go on our dog walk, there is a property about half a mile from us that has 4 goats that just kind of hang out and eat the vegetation in this back lot of this house. And we always walk by and say hi to the goats. And James even named a couple of them after Heidi's 2 goats in the story. In the translation, they're named Little Swan and Little Bear, but in the original, they're named Schwanley and Bearly. So that's what we call those 2 goats. There's also 2 other goats over at the goat lot, who he has named Black Phillip and Mo. So those are the 4 goats. We've also done a lot of watching videos about Switzerland to kind of get a feel for what the place itself is like. Recommended if you haven't checked out Rick Steves' Europe. It is a great travel show. Rick Steves gets really into the history of all these different places and the connections, and kind of does these interesting deep dives on specific places in Europe. So, we looked up the Frankfurt episode, we looked up Switzerland episodes, we looked up a whole bunch of different things to kind of get a feel for the place of Heidi. And it was kind of cool because James put together, which I didn't even think of, all of the Western movies that we've been watching for our Western Wednesdays take place in the 1850 to 1900, or I guess right up to 1920 if you include some of the later ones, but right in kind of that time slot. And he was watching Heidi one day and he was like, so what's going on in America at this same time? And I was like, you tell me. It's 1881. And he stops and thinks about it and he goes, all those Westerns we've been watching. And I said, exactly. And so they have the same tech in Heidi. When they want to get around, they've got to walk or take a horse-drawn wagon or take a train. Those are your options in 1881. So Heidi, Girl of the Alps, totally and completely recommended. Again, if you've got kids in your house that are age 10 and under, again, able to read the subtitles, though you might even give a try. If you've got kids that do not read yet, but who might be interested, they might want to watch it even if they can't understand the dialogue. We started our kids on anime before they were reading age, and they were totally happy to sit there and watch stuff that was just in Japanese, that they had no idea what the dialogue was saying. They didn't care. In fact, I think having them watch subtitled movies before they could read helped them learn how to read. So that's my big Heidi review and recommendation. You guys check it out. Like I said, if you've got a kid under 10, or if you are a child at heart, if you ever read the book or enjoyed the story at all, I would definitely recommend this cartoon. If you're a fan of Studio Ghibli, and again, especially Totoro, you'll love this show. It's amazing. It's totally fun. Like I said, I'm going to link the first episode down below. Give it a watch. Let me know what you think if you watch it. Let me know if you sign on for all 52 episodes, because that's what happened to us. So Heidi, Girl of the Alps, 2 thumbs way up, 10 out of 10. We completely loved it. Absolutely recommended. You guys should watch it too. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll be back in a few more days with another Cinema Club Sunday Roundup. Also, I will tell you guys, we made a Cinema Club Halloween watch list. I'll go ahead and link that below. Also, first up tonight, we're watching the original Frankenstein back from 1931, I think. It might be 32, though. Ooh, check me if I'm wrong. Anyhow, I'm out of here. See you guys later.